Michael Turner was 54 years old, but he didn't think of himself as old. Sure, his hair had developed streaks of silver over the last few years, and there were a few fine lines around his eyes, but he kept himself in shape and still moved with the ease of a man who took care of himself. He lived in Charleston, South Carolina, a city that mixed history with charm, and most days he felt completely at home there. Yet, lately, he'd noticed a small itch in the back of his mind, a curiosity about something he had never explored in much depth before. It wasn't that Michael was lonely. He had friends, a fulfilling career as an architect, and hobbies that kept him busy, sailing on weekends, cycling along the coastline, and occasionally painting when the mood struck. But every now and then, he found himself drawn into conversations with women who were younger than him, sometimes 10 years younger, sometimes 20, and he wondered if there was a way to connect with them that felt effortless and genuine. He wasn't looking to manipulate or charm someone into anything. He just wanted to understand the art of communication across an age gap without falling into the trap of cliches or awkwardness. It all started one warm summer afternoon. Michael had stopped at his favorite coffee shop, Harbor Brew, a cozy little place tucked into a brick-lined street near the pier. The place had soft jazz playing in the background, the smell of freshly baked pastries drifting through the air, and a steady hum of conversation. He sat at a small table near the window with a copy of The Old Man and the Sea open in front of him, though he wasn't really reading. He liked to people watch, and on days like this, the cafe offered a perfect view of passers-by. That's when he noticed them, a group of 3 women in their late 20s, laughing as they walked through the door. They had the kind of energy that seemed to pull everyone's attention toward them without even trying. One of them, in particular, caught his eye. She had bright hazel eyes, auburn hair pulled into a loose ponytail, and a sundress the color of a clear summer sky. She moved with ease, like someone who enjoyed life rather than rushed through it. Her name, as he would learn later, was Emily Carter. Emily stepped up to the counter, ordered a caramel latte with extra cinnamon, and glanced around the cafe. For a split second, her eyes met Michael's. He smiled, not in a forced way, but with a simple warmth. She smiled back before turning to talk to her friends. It was a tiny moment, but it stayed with him. Later that night, Michael found himself wondering, if he had wanted to start a conversation with her, what would have been the right way? He knew plenty of men who would try a cheesy pickup line, but that wasn't him. Others would make the age difference the first topic, which always struck him as awkward and unnecessary. He didn't want to be the older guy trying too hard.
He wanted to be authentic.
A few days later, Michael found himself having dinner with his old friend Jack Reynolds, a retired schoolteacher with a sharp sense of humor and a gift for reading people. "You know the problem with most men who try to talk to younger women?" Jack said between bites of steak.
They make it about themselves.
They lead with bragging or try to show off, thinking that'll get them somewhere.
But it's not about that.
The best way to connect is to make it about her, not just how she looks, but who she is. Michael leaned back in his chair. "So, what's the first step?" Jack smirked. "Step 1? Stop trying to impress. Just be present. Confidence isn't about talking the most, it's about being comfortable enough to listen." That conversation stuck with Michael. A week later, he was at an art gallery opening downtown. He'd been invited by a client who was showcasing her work, and he figured it would be a good way to support local artists. The space was filled with soft lighting, elegant music, and the quiet hum of voices discussing the exhibits. And there she was, Emily. This time, she wasn't in a group. She walked in wearing a simple white dress with a denim jacket draped over her shoulders. She noticed him almost immediately. "You're the guy from Harbor Brew," she said with a friendly smile. "And you're the one who ordered the caramel latte with extra cinnamon," Michael replied. Her eyes lit up. "Wow, you remember that. Some things are worth remembering," he said lightly, without a hint of forced charm. They began talking about the exhibit, standing in front of a modern sculpture that looked like a swirling silver wave. Emily admitted she didn't quite understand it, but liked how it caught the light. Michael shared his interpretation, and the conversation flowed naturally. They discovered they both enjoyed jazz, both loved road trips, and both found humor in the strange shapes of modern art. Over the next several weeks, They ran into each other more often, at the farmer's market, at a book signing downtown, and once at a live music event by the harbor. Michael found that the easiest way to keep things comfortable was to stay playful, without crossing any lines. If Emily couldn't decide between two flavors of ice cream, he'd tease her by saying, "Careful, this is a life-altering decision. We might need a decision-making committee." She'd laugh, and that laughter was better than any compliment he could give. He never made the age gap the focal point. Instead, he treated her as an equal. He noticed that she relaxed around him, opening up about her dreams, her job as a graphic designer, and her love of hiking in the Appalachian Mountains. One evening, they took a walk along the pier after a local jazz concert. The air was cool, and the sound of waves mixed with distant music. There were moments of silence between them, but it didn't feel awkward. Michael had learned that real confidence meant you didn't have to fill every gap with words. "You're not like most guys I meet," Emily said suddenly, looking out at the water. "How so?" Michael asked. "You don't try too hard. You actually listen. And you're not in a rush to, I don't know, prove something." Michael smiled. "Maybe that's because I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just enjoying getting to know you." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, they simply stood there, watching the moonlight on the water. By the time Michael walked her to her car, he realized he had learned something valuable. Flirting with younger women, at least in a way that was genuine and respectful, wasn't about slick lines or showing off. It was about presence, listening, and bringing a playful energy without pressure. What began as a curiosity turned into a deeper understanding, not just about women, but about people. Whether someone was younger, older, or the same age, the key was always the same: respect, attention, and authenticity. And maybe that was the real secret all along.